Did anybody figure out whether it's A, B, C, D, or E? You think it's D? Anybody else? B? Let's work through it and find out. Let's work through this and find out. Okay, so after approximately how many seconds will the ball hit the ground? And what do you notice about the equation they gave me? What does it start with right after the equal sign? A negative. So what do we know about the way this parabola would look? It'll be reflected over the x-axis, so it's going to open down, which makes sense when we're talking about a ball in the air, right? What goes up must come down. So our parabola has this kind of a shape to it. In my poorly drawn little picture there, where is the ball on the ground? At the x-axis, yeah. I didn't draw an x-axis on here, but there's my xy axis. This is the start when the ball is thrown in the air, and right here is where it hits the ground. So if that's what I want to know, what feature of the graph am I looking for? The roots. We want to find the roots. And what form will give me the roots? Factored form. So with factored form, there's one thing that I always have to remember to do at the beginning, and it's so easy to forget to do. GCF. First thing we're going to do is look for GCF. Good morning, sir. Thank you. That door's going to pull tight behind you. The wind grabs it. Thank you. We're going to look for a GCF. And no matter what else, I know that this one has a GCF because you just told me that right after the equal sign we have what? A negative. I always want to take a negative out as a GCF because I never, ever want to try to do my area model, my box, with a negative A value. Is there anything else that would go into all three of those terms other than just negative?
No, just
2. So I'm going to take a negative 2 out of each piece. Divided by negative 2, divided by negative 2, divided by negative 2.
Why is that a negative?
Because I don't ever want to do my area model, my box, with a negative value up in where the A box is, up in the upper left corner. I don't ever want that to be a negative. So whenever my A is negative, I'm going to pull that out as a GCF right at the beginning.
So in this case, we're doing the complete square, not the other one? We're doing completely square, not the other one?
Nope, we're doing the other one. But we still take the negative out. Whether it's completing the square or the factoring, we're going to take a negative out if there's a negative at the beginning. If A is negative, always take it out. All right, so that would give me h of t equals negative 2. What would I have left over if I take a negative 2 out of everybody? Negative 4 divided by negative 2 would give me what? Positive 2. So I'm going to have a positive 2t squared. 18 divided by negative 2. Negative 9. So I have a negative 9t. And 10 divided by negative 2. Negative 5. All right. Are you guys okay with what we've done so far? 2 goes into everybody, and we're good on that, right? It's a negative for my GCF, because whenever your A value is negative, you will have a GCF. It will be the negative. It might be a negative something bigger than 1, but it's at least a negative if your A value is negative. All right, so now I'm going to label my A, my B, and my C. Can I use my shortcut on this? No, A is not 1, even after I get that GCF out. So I'm going to have to do the full area model here. So I'm going to draw my area model. And I'm going to need my X. A goes here and C goes here. And I put that in before I do anything with my X. So what do I put in this upper left-hand box? 2x squared, or 2t squared, right? It's okay if you put x's. If you guys switch over to x's because they're more familiar, I'm not ever going to take off points for that. Down here in the C box, -5, -5. Then when I come over here to the x, I have to multiply those two coefficients together for a and c. So I'm multiplying the 2 and the -5 together, which would give me what? -10. Down on the bottom is where the b value goes. What's the coefficient with b? -9. So I need to find two numbers that when I multiply them, I get -10, but when I add them, I get -9. -10 and a +1. Those are the two numbers that will do that. So I've got -10t and a +1t. And then we look at just two boxes at a time. Between 2t squared and 1t, what do they have in common? T. And then I bring it down below. Be careful on this one. A lot of people will want to put a 10 out at the front, but that's not right. -5. Some people get into the habit of just whatever they see, they pull out. It has to go into both pieces. If it doesn't go into both pieces evenly, you can't take it out. It's just like a GCF. All right, then we're going to go vertically. What can come out of both of these? 2t. And last but not least, 1. Positive or -1? +1. All right, so I've got my two factors here, 2t + 1 and t - 5. Yes, sir. Yes, you may. What do I do with those factors now to figure out when it's going to hit the ground? Set them equal to 0. Don't touch the red writing and you should be good. So I'm going to take each of these and set them equal to 0. 2t + 1. That wasn't him, that was the wind. It keeps grabbing the door and slamming it shut. 2t + 1. What do I need to do to both sides? Subtract the 1 from both sides. So I would have 2t = -1. And then to get rid of the 2, I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. And so that would give me what? -1/2, which is the same as what? In decimal form. -0.5. So that means A, right? Tito, you're making a face. Tell me why. The sensical part. What's not making sense?
That's 0.5 seconds.
0.5 seconds. What else do you notice about our 0.5 second answer? It's negative.
No.
Can we have negative time?
No.
No, we cannot. No negative time.
Is that going to be counting like approximately?
Is that what?
Like the time being negative. Is that going to be counting these questions?
Yes, because when you think about situations like this, anytime I'm finding the roots, I'm finding where it's on the x-axis. If my object started on the ground and then it ends on the ground, then I'm going to have two positive roots. But if it didn't start on the ground, if it started in the air, so like if I throw something so it's not on the ground, I throw a basketball, I throw a baseball, anything like that, it's going to go up from this height right here, not from 0 feet on the ground. And so the parabola that the ball would make, like if I shoot a basketball, it's going to go from about 5 feet up in the air, up, and then down and hopefully through the hoop, right? If I were to take a time-lapse picture of that so you could see the ball traveling through the air, going through the hoop and hitting the ground, you would have to finish the rest of the parabola behind me. Because it would start from here, go up, and then go down further. It's not going to stop right here in the air. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the mathematical model has it coming back to the ground on this side of me. But the ball was never on the ground behind me. Does that make sense why we're seeing that negative time show up? A little bit?
That's 'cause it's not starting anywhere.
That's exactly right. It's not starting on the ground.
It's starting here.
It's starting in the air. Yep.
Well, at least that's kind of.
That's when the time is starting. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Or like if you're standing on top of a building and you throw something off. It's going to go from the top of the building and then all the way down.
That's me.
Yep, so you'd have a positive time from when it actually hits the ground, and a negative time would be the other root.
So when we see this first one, I flip it as positive. We can't make it.
Well, we're not going to flip that to make it a positive 5 seconds. I've got another factor over here, right? What's my other factor? T minus 5 equals 0. I still need to solve that one, right? What do I do with that? I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I don't have a negative time there. Does that one make sense in the context?
Yeah.
Yes. So 5 seconds. So I would put answer E here. Awesome. You guys have your first test tomorrow. We did a Unit 1 quest. If you remember, like, it was written funny and some people are like, what's a quest? A quest is worth half the points of a test. Tomorrow is your first test. So if you didn't do really well on the first test and you didn't come in and retake it, so your grade's still sitting kind of you have an opportunity with this test because it's worth double the points. This can totally change your grade and bring it up. You are going to need to study for it tonight. I've got the rest of class today to answer any questions you have, whether it's questions that come off the review, whether it's questions like a homework problem. If you want me to make up a problem that's similar to something that you've done or that you got stuck on, I'm more than happy to do that. We can talk about when you would choose to use the different forms, like what is it in a story problem that you would be looking for, and what process would you use to put it into those different forms. So the rest of the period I have open for you guys. Tell me what you would like to work on. What would you guys like to do? You ready to finish? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Go over there. Not a problem. Right. What What do you guys want to talk about? What do you want to look at this morning? What kinds of problems have been giving you difficulties? Story problems are fair game for the test. While some people are collecting their thoughts, and please feel free to interrupt me. I'm just trying to kind of fill the space with something useful, but if you have a question, I will stop talking about what I'm talking about, and I will focus on your question. So please feel free to blurt out anything that you want to see me do. We had 3 different forms here. We had general form. General form was my ABC form. We had our factored form.
On the test,
Mm-hmm.
on the test, everything that we learned from the last unit is going to be on there as well, right?
Everything that you learned in the last unit is fair game for review questions, yes. That doesn't mean that I will ask every single question type that was on the last test, but anything that was on the last test is fair game for me to ask about.
All right. And how many questions will this test be?
I do not remember off the top of my head because I've printed tests for 3 of my classes at the same time, so I have all the different tests mixed together in my mind. I apologize. I can answer that before you leave the room, though. I can pull it out and look at it. On the test tomorrow, I will give you the y equals part for each of these. I will not tell you which is which, and I can't tell you which is which. You need to know which form is which. So what I would recommend is when you get the tests set in front of you, because they'll be right up at the top of the first page, label them with which form they are. This one's general form. This one's factored form. This one's vertex form. So that way you don't have to hold that in your brain while you're doing the rest of the test, and it's almost like having some notes to help you. My vertex form is my AHK form. Factored form finds the roots. In story problems, I'd be looking for phrases like hits the ground or reaches the surface. Those would indicate to me that I need a y, or sorry, not a y-intercept, I need an x-intercept. Let's see if I can get the rest of this word up here. To put it into factored form, I would start from general form. Always. I would never go from vertex form to this form. I would have to go from general form into factored form. So from general form, you are going to factor it. So you will look for a GCF. And then from there, you would make your box and your X. If you guys aren't sure when to use each form or how to go from one to the other, like which process do I use, this would be a very good thing to write down and look at as you study tonight. Anything that you remember tomorrow morning when you walk in, when I put the test in front of you, you can jot down any of that information on the top of your page. Vertex form is my AHK form. A, H, and K are my transformations. The vertex is HK. In any story problems that I would read, words talking about a maximum or a minimum. Be careful with H here. Remember, H is the one that I can't trust the sign because it's always the opposite when it's inside the equation. If I have it in general form, the way I put it into vertex form, I use a box, but it's a very special box for this one. This is the one where I make a square. You will complete the square with A and B. What does general form tell me? What does general form tell me? The y-intercept. And what?
Nothing else.
Okay. No, that's okay. This one finds the y-intercept. It's going to be 0 and then whatever c is. In story problems, I'd be looking for a starting amount. So it might be how high was the person that threw the ball, or how tall was the building that this was knocked off of. If we have either one of the other two forms, we're going to use PEMDAS to put it into general form. Use order of operations. So from factored form, first, you will double distribute your two sets of parentheses, your two factors. After you double distribute, then you would multiply by A, if there's an A value out in front. If it starts off in vertex form, I'm still going to use order of operations, but vertex form has a squared piece, so I have to do the exponent first. So I will multiply the parentheses by itself. Then I would multiply by A, and then I would add or subtract K. Mm-hmm.
So this right here. Once it was only trying to get rid of the parentheses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that would be it simplified, right? Doing that's in the box.
Yes. Yep. All right. I will put this up in Canvas so that you have it to refer to, but this is a really good how do I know when to use these forms and how do I get it into that form. Tomorrow on the test, if you raise your hand and you say it says put it into vertex form, I don't remember how to do that. That's something that I'm not going to be allowed to tell you because that's what I'm testing. I'm testing to see if you remember how to go from one form to the other form. Do you guys want to practice a graphing problem? It's been a minute since we've done some graphing, and graphing problems are usually worth a lot of points. Yes, ma'am? Absolutely. Give me just one moment, sir. There you go, Miriam. You're welcome.
So what would I do for them?
Okay, so we want it fully simplified, so all the way to just a single number.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
okay.
that's what I'm looking for there. Yep, good question. Are you guys okay if we look at the graphing problem that was on the review? Okay. I can put this back up, or you can grab your phones and snap a quick picture of it so that you've got it. I will be posting it on Canvas as well, so that you have access to this. All right. I'm going to go to the graphing problem that was on your test review. Hopefully, if you wanted to grab a picture, you've had enough time to do that. All right. I don't remember which one the graphing problem was. Does anybody have it up in front of them and know which problem was the graphing one? You said which one? 19.
Wait, can you show me number 4 because I said I got that number wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. State the A, B, and C values. Numbers only, no variables. Remember, it must be equal to 0 before you find these values.
Oh wait, line number 4 is wrong. It's the what method should we use to transform the equation to vertex form? And I said factoring.
Vertex form. Ooh, let me pull this back up. Hold on.
Number 4?
This was the one.
What method do we use to put it into vertex form?
That was from the other homework. That was from,
The homework 8?
I think so.
Yeah. Right here, Tito.
Either way, on number 4, like, I got this.
Oh, I gotta put the square.
To put it into vertex form, you complete the square. Mm-hmm.
They can't do that.
It's 12.
Yes, you had a question about number 4.
Well, it's number 4. Well, it's kind of. I got it right. It's just that I get confused. Number 4 and 16. Like, 16 is like numbers only, right? No.
No, that's okay. Let's look at this. So we'll do 4, and then we'll look at 16, and then we'll look at our graph.
No, I'm trying to see if it's 16.
Oh, okay. You find that, and I'll look at this one while we're here. So I got to set it equal to 0 first. You can't do anything at all ever with a quadratic equation if it is not set equal to 0. This is a requirement no matter what I'm doing. Has to be equal to 0. Once it's equal to 0, then I can identify A, B, and C. So here's my A value.
It was 4 and 11.
4 and 11. Okay.
If 11's asking for like the numbers or no variables, right? And then number 4 is asking for.
Number 4, very similar. Oh, what happened?
It's asking for the same thing, but basically like.
Okay, I'm not quite sure why when I did this, it only showed me that part of the screen. Not sure. So I have to subtract 1 from both sides. So I get 2 for my A value. I would have -6 for my B value. And I would have -4 for my C value. You said the other one was number 11?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it because it's in different forms, that's why?
Let's check and see. Come on, take me to the right question. A, B, and C. So this one you have to put into general form first. Oh, sorry, no, this one's AH and K. My apologies. This is AH and K, so yes, it's the different form here.
So since it has a vertex form, I just take the vertex form out and then everything.
For this part right here?
Yeah.
For this one right here, my A value, that's going to be that guy right there. My H value, remember you have to set this equal to 0 first. So it's going to be the opposite sign. That's going to be a +4 right here. And K goes right here. That's your 6 on the
So
end.
basically just the vertex really.
Yes. Yeah. When I'm asking for AH and K, it's your A and your vertex. Yep. Is anybody? Let's find. All right, we're going to create a graph for this one.
Are we gonna have like one where we have to simplify the fraction?
Simplify the simplified square root form.
Yeah.
There might be a question like that on there because that would be considered review.
And like number 30?
I'll go look at it in just a second. All right, so I'm going to recopy this, and then we're going to go and graph this. All right, let me pull up some graph paper. I should probably go with medium squares.
Vertex is HK.
Yes, vertex is HK. Thank you, ma'am. You can set that on my desk for me. All right, so let me do an XY axis. And we will graph this guy. First thing I want to do when I'm making a graph is to graph my parent function. So I'm going to make the table for the parent first. Let me get the equation for my transformation over here. So parent first. So I need a t-table for that. The parent is y equals x squared. We get to pick the x's that we want because that's our input. I have 5 favorite x's that I almost always use. Does anybody remember what those are? Yep. And we're going to take each one of those and we're going to square them. What do I get? What type of a number do I get anytime I square something? A positive. What is -2 squared?
4.
Positive 4. So I'd plot a point at -2, 4. What is -1 squared?
1.
1. So I'd have a point at -1, 1. 0 squared?
0.
0. So I'd have a point down here. And then 1 squared is 1, and 2 squared is 4. So I have these repeated values. That makes the other side of my parabola here. I'm going to bring my table down a little bit. So a lot of times I give you guys a double-sided table to work with. And we can use that for our transformation then. I would take whatever my h value is and I would add it to x. What is our h value here? 4. This is the opposite. So my h value is a positive 4. I'm going to add 4 to all of my x's. And so my new x values are going to be shifted 4 to the right. So it's going to be positive 2, positive 3, 4, 5, and 6. We multiply y by a, and then we will add or subtract k. What's my a value? Negative 3, so I'm going to multiply everybody by negative 3. And what is my k value that I'm going to be adding? 6. So I'm going to add 6 to everything after I multiply it by negative 3. What is 4 times negative 3? Negative 12. Negative 12 plus 6. Negative 6. So there's a point that I can plot for my transformation. Positive 2, negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right here.
I have a question.
Yep.
Is there going to be a retake for the test?
Is there going to be what?
A retake for the test?
Yes. If you don't do well on the test, you are eligible for a retake.
How many times can you retake it?
1 time.
You love to longer take.
So then I would be here, and then here, and then way down here, very stretched out. For this guy right here, what is my range? Do the arrows point up or down? Down. So the y values go down forever. That means it has a maximum. It has a highest point. What's the highest or the biggest y value?
6.
6. And I use a square bracket there. Domain for all my parabolas?
Bracket and
The domain for all parabolas.
positive, infinity, and negative.
Yep. When we write our interval notation, you always put the smallest thing first and then the biggest thing. The same way you would read a number line from left to right. It has the negatives on the left and the positives on the right. Domain and range are set up the exact same way. Smallest thing on the left, biggest thing on the right. Always, always, always.
First negative.
Please let me know tonight if you guys have any questions, any problems, any issues. I will be available until about 9 o'clock tonight via Canvas messages. Just send me messages. They ding on my phone. If you send me an email, it doesn't send a notification to my phone the same way that Canvas does. So please send it through Canvas and you'll get my attention faster. All right? Good luck studying tonight, everybody.